All right, everybody, welcome to a Friday edition of Teaching Crypto. AZcrypto and MrFOMO. Please hit that like, that subscribe, bell notification, super chats, and the store are open. MrFOMO, we head towards the end of June, and Bitcoin is still struggling here. And, we're going to keep it real. Think times are not great here. We're at 63.5 as I speak to you. And, it was not that long ago where we had gotten to 70. We talked about holding at 70. Not only did it not happen, we've now pushed towards the lower 60 range. And there's a lot of narratives. Germany is now selling Bitcoin, the Bitcoin reserve it had. Now it's not selling all of it, but several millions of dollars, $100 million of Bitcoin were sold over the past 48 hours. And, too bad they don't watch the show. They would know that this is not the best time to sell your Bitcoin. But there's a lot of negativity, world conflicts, and people are scared. And you pointed this out off the air. We are supposed to be in a bull market. Yes, June was supposed to be slow, but the issue is this downside started in early March. We're now towards the end of June. I don't want to say July is do or die, and I expect things to improve in July, but July is probably going to be the most important month in this bull run.
I would agree. This is something, and especially for our predictions, we talked about the end of June and into July being the launch pad back into this bull run. And so if world events, if people's pocketbooks, if all that comes together and dampens this bull run, it's going to be kind of upsetting, not just for our predictions, but for everybody who's invested out there.
Well, I'm not giving up by any means, and I do think I still maintain there are some green months ahead. However, like we talked about, you got to proceed with caution, and that's what people are doing. Now, I disagreed with you about the fact that there was you said temper your enthusiasm for this bull run because people didn't have as much money as they did during COVID. They were sitting at home. But the more I think about it, there were also no major conflicts besides COVID back then. And so people were, I think, more willing to take risks. I'm talking about, the retail person. I'm not talking about the whales, but the whales too. People were willing to take more risk because they were at home. They had checks coming in. Like I said, some of them had more free time. And that is not the case right now.
And they couldn't go anywhere. That was also the other thing, is they couldn't spend it on what they normally would spend it on, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so they had cash on hand to throw at things like investments, like riskier investments like Bitcoin and altcoins. Not that we consider Bitcoin to be a risky investment, but in the wider market, that's what they would say to you. Yeah. And so, looking around, sure, the market may be in better shape than we were back then. But if we're talking about the bottom 70% and how they're doing in the supermarket, then, we're talking about a vastly different environment than we were in 2020, because a lot more of that money is going to supermarket and regular goods where it would have gone to their investment.
Or just vacations, anything you can think of.
Right? Anything.
Yeah. And I still think, there was a story today about how more and more people are learning about Bitcoin. I see that. I think it's coming. I still think we're going to see that 100K Bitcoin. You saw the Michael Saylor buy. You're seeing still a lot of positivity below the surface. Believe it or not, and this is kind of hard to understand. Behind the scenes, whales are the ones that are actually getting more Bitcoin right now and accumulating. And it's the short-term sellers that are selling off. I think, a lot of people that buy Bitcoin still don't understand what it is. And they see it, all right, I bought at 70 and now it's at 63. Oh my God, let me dump this thing before it gets to 30 or 20 or 10. They don't watch shows like this and they don't really know what they're doing. And that's what you get. You get a lot of short-term sell-offs. And this is kind of a tactic we've talked about, manipulation by whales to accumulate even more Bitcoin. And I do believe that is happening right now. And so we're going to see what the consequences are. I don't think we're going back straight up to 100K. I already talked about that all the time. I think we'll make a nice run into the high 80s, have another, and hopefully it doesn't last this long, have another retrace. But this is full on mini bear now. Once you get to 3 months, it's full on mini bear. Let's call it what it is. We are in bear. And you kind of expected it, and I kind of expected to extend, but I didn't think it would start as early March. We were
no, neither did I.
And so now I expected by end of this month we would turn around. I'm now being honest. I think really realistically, you're looking at July, sometime in July. I don't think it's realistic to think that the alts are going to run in June anymore. I do, however, have some positive news. I don't want this to be a doom and gloom Friday. The SEC dropped its case against ETH, another huge waste of money. And I don't really understand how these people are not being held accountable. These people, one person did resign from the SEC, but they've wasted a lot of time instead of helping to create regulation so that a 12-year-old can't just launch a coin with their dad's credit card. And that has happened in crypto. And you're seeing, and the part of it is just there's too many tokens. And I'm going to call out some of the influencers. What some of the influencers are doing is they're so desperate right now in this mini bear. They're grasping on something new every time that has a lifespan of 48 hours, jumping on. And that's not good, because then their followers, by the time they hear about these tokens, they get in, and these things have no life. They have no utility. They have almost zero money.
They get wrecked.
There's a lot of false narratives, right? We had the one earlier this week that they tried to say Donald Trump had created a token, and there was all these posts about it. It turned out to be false. Okay. But for 24 hours, there were a lot of people putting money into this token, DJT. And so you're just seeing this all over the place. And this is where regulation would help, right? And it's the argument versus decentralization versus the people that have power. I've always maintained there's got to be a mix. I don't think complete decentralization is ever possible, because you're talking about taking on governments. You're talking about you're taking on people that have all the power. I do think individual decentralization can happen, but there's always going to be a human influence, right? That's just the reality. You can talk about decentralization all you want. I don't think in our lifetime it is really that realistic. And so some regulation, I think, is needed. And I think the longer it takes to happen, you're gonna see is more and more manipulation. That is part of the game. It does make for bigger gains, but it does scare some investors away as well.
And that is another huge. That's a great point you're making. That's a huge influence on the retail investor, is that lack of regulatory clarity. When you're not sure whether or not the SEC is going to sue the token that you're investing in, then there's going to be some volatility if that actually happens. The token is going to take a hit when they come in, or when they go at odds with the SEC. It's just the way that it works. And so that kind of clarity is important. And I think that is something that's also keeping the retail investor out, is the lack of regulatory clarity that exists around a lot of these altcoins.
Now, the good news is
that's another thing you also hit on, is the sheer number of tokens that are on the market now. The fact that we're so diluted, and like you said, influencer bouncing from meme coin to meme coin to meme coin, and it spreads that money, the little bit of money that's there, out, and we lose these huge pumps that you would get in some really good projects normally.
Well, that's why you're seeing some of the alts that actually are trying to do something bleed heavy. And I knew they would bleed. And it is a gigantic opportunity. But I think we need to be honest. Not all the alts are gonna run, not even like last time, right? You saw some alts do 10x's in 3 to 4 weeks. I think that's going to be really challenging unless you find something that's brand new that really captures the market. And it's going to be tough, because a lot of people are going to be competing, right? We talked about AI. We talked about all the different narratives that exist, real world use case. There's so many now. And I think the ones we gave you were successful before this, dead period. And I think they will be successful again. But if you're 100x, 10x or bust, and you don't take profits on the 50, 60, 70, 80, 90%, you may indeed be holding the bag much quicker than you expected.
I agree.
And so
Sorry, I
here,
was looking.
no problem. So here, one thing I do think will help. The ETH ETFs go live in July. You got the SEC dropping its case. Don't be shocked if ETH actually brings Bitcoin up this time with it instead of the opposite, and then all the alts follow. I could see that. So I want to give our viewers some positivity. By the way, no Voyager date yet. We keep getting asked about that. Here's what I can tell you. It's not going to happen in June. Now, if we get, and I'm expecting some communication, we'll keep asking for it from Paul Hage. If we get communication end of this month, then that probably means they're getting close. And so right now, best case to me is going to be mid to late July, but I always expect August. I would hope that if Paul Hage has any knowledge about what the current crypto market is, he expedites this process so people can get back these checks and put it in an alt that they want, ETH or Bitcoin or Solana or anything else that they want that's much lower now that it's going to be in October, November. I would hope.
Yeah,
so we'll continue to work on that. But
that's a huge point, is that opportunity
Mhm.
cost is, as time ticks away, that opportunity cost is burning up for us. You'd like to see us get that money back in July because, like you said,
Mhm.
the ETH ETF will probably be approved, and you're going to
Uh-huh.
see a launching point for this bull run again based on that. I mean, just based on the fact that the Bitcoin ETF blew up and has been the top performing ETF in the history of ETFs for its first 4 months of existence. So, the sky's the limit once the ETH ETF hits. And I think you're right. I think it is going to grab Bitcoin and drag it back up to 70, even 80.
All right. So we talked about iOS network before. Look at all that red, guys. I know, blood. But imagine that red turning into green cash. Okay. Obviously not financial advice, but AOS network, one of my favorites, right? It went up all the way to $2.67 at one point, and that's the all-time high. But it got up to $1.08 during this bull run. We're sitting at 48 cents, and the market cap right now is all the way down to 530. I think this is at least a $2 billion project when the market improves. So you're talking about a little under, 4x there. I do think it's going to happen. Again, things have to improve market wide, but this is one, if you are new to the show and not financial advice, you do your own research and you have the capital and you want to take a risk right now, to me, this is an amazing opportunity. You get this in at 48 cents, very well be at $2 or more in October, November. That's a beautiful profit. I'm putting that one out there.
And I like it just because it is the AI narrative. You talk about artificial intelligence across markets, and you're talking about a booming space. And so I think that this is going to be big. We talked about an AI summer. I still think that the AI tokens towards the end of the summer, when Bitcoin recovers, are going to go on a huge run, because that's just the narrative in all the markets right now. I mean, even in education, we're talking about AI every other day. And so this is going to be the bull run for AI, and I can see AI extending out into other bull runs as well, just because that narrative is so strong right now.
All right, and you wanted to share one, for our viewers as well.
Let's go ahead and talk about a Solana token. Let me get all the way back
Jupiter
to the
all
chart
right.
here. Jupiter token, Solana token, they're getting ready to expand a lot of their DeFi products. So that's that's something good just on what they're working on. But you see the price has fallen from 121 down to 75 cents. And they are getting ready to burn tokens. This was announced yesterday in a podcast, or maybe the day before in a podcast. They're getting ready to burn 30% of their supply coming up sometime this year. And so when you have a supply burn, you're going to create scarcity for the token, and that should drive the price through the roof. And so knowing that you can get it at this low of a price, knowing that they've got a token burn coming up, this is the perfect time to scoop up some Jupiter, especially since it's a Solana token. It's got that kind of strength behind it. And it's already got a market cap of number 69. You're talking about something in the top 100 as far as the market cap is concerned, at a $1 billion, at $1 billion market cap. So I think Jupiter token is one that you ought to keep an eye on for the month of July.
Absolutely. Again, it just, how quickly can we recover? Okay. How are you guys don't get more viewers baffles me. People rather watch these channels pumping and dumping. Thank you so much. We really appreciate the support. Yeah, Remy. We try to keep it honest. We try to keep, here's the thing. Right now, no one's really making money. You're not going to find a show that's saying that. You're going to, I got this token. I'm on Wolf and I'm just up 70%. Well, great. I hope you took profits on Wolf. And this is a real token I'm mentioning. Don't buy into it, because in 2 weeks, no one's going to know Wolf even existed. Just like they didn't, that fake Donald Trump token that people were excited about for 24 hours, or the Gary Gensler token, whatever it is, right? You have token, like, it's just, people get desperate, right? And they create these tokens that have a lifespan of 24 to 48 hours. What I think we're going to do, Mr. FOMO, next time we come on the air, is we're going to tell our viewers exactly everything that we hold. Full transparency, what we hold in our crypto portfolio, and you guys can see exactly. I mean, thankfully we bought Bitcoin. I know I did much earlier, back when it was well under 30K, and so that's holding my portfolio in the green for now.
Thank God.
Alts, we talked about, we were riding that high in February and March. I think you're in the same ballpark. We didn't take enough. We took some profits, but not enough. And you learn. And so the one thing I want to leave,
we didn't take our own advice.
When things improve in July, and hopefully they do, please, in the month of July, August, September, guys, into October, hopefully, be taking profits. Whatever the narrative changes, whatever good news we get, this company, Dow now loves Bitcoin. This country loves Bitcoin. Do not expect the good times to last, because they will not. We're not in that stage yet of full Bitcoin recognition. Could be 4, 8, 12, 16, 20 years from now. We're not there now.
As a matter of fact, when we get back to reaching all-time highs, you should be looking for capitulations around the corner. Elon Musk could sell 10% of Tesla's supply of Bitcoin just to prove its liquidity again, the same way he did last bull run. And those kinds of things have a huge effect on the market. And so keep an eye out for that kind of stuff when we start to cruise along, because those are the things that are going to trigger those downturns in the market. And you're going to want to be ready to pull your profits as soon as you can.
And you're naive if you don't think BlackRock's going to sell some Bitcoin in 2025. I'm telling you guys, they're going to do it. They're going to bring the price down, and there will be another huge reaccumulation phase coming between now and hopefully the next bull run. But let's keep our eyes open. I think things will improve in July. Stay with us. We're going to give you our portfolio next time. You don't want to miss that. For Mr. Merle, this is AZcrypto. You guys have a wonderful Friday.
See ya.